What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another live stream. Of course, this is on a Monday. Of course, the main market's going to be open coming Tuesday. The market was closed due to the observatory or the observation or whatever of Labor Day, and it's a federal U.S. holiday that the markets are just kind of closed on. So that is something that we didn't really see too much of. There were some futures actions going forth, of course, but it's very, very low volume in that fact. But so without further ado, let's go look at some of the stocks, look at some of the market. I kind of wanted to talk about this continuous run that we're seeing here in the overall market, and just seeing it just continue to fly higher, 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 and getting these little tiny like paper cut pullbacks and not really seeing much kind of follow through in those days, and just a lot of just dip buying at these time frames. Again, we're looking at the ES. We can kind of make this a little bit more simplistic, and we're just going to jump into the SPY, which is the SPY. What up, Dave? What up, Paul? What's happening? Nothing much. Just looking at another day in the market, and it just continuously driving itself higher and higher. I kind of wanted to put it into some kind of content of like, where have we really come from? So if I go to the SPY for the max amount of time that we're looking at this, let's kind of just get rid of this real fast. If you look at, this is SPY for the max amount of times that we're looking at here, and looking for the 99 to 2000, just the kind of that topping pattern that we saw, and then a slow burn lower. Then we had the 0809 kind of correction, which was much steeper and faster. And then we had the pandemic one here as well. This is definitely something that was a insanely fast flash crash and a crazy rebound off of that. Does that mean we can continuously going higher? I don't know, right? Does I have to make this completely blunt and obvious to everyone that I can't predict the future? I don't think there's anyone can predict the future. I know some people say they can and all that fun stuff, but this is something that most people haven't traded. Even professional traders that I know, they are like, I haven't seen this kind of market, or I've not traded a market that within these last like 20 years. Like most the portfolio managers that you see on this that are actively investing, trading, and things like that, they have 15, 20 years under their belt. And this is a market that not many people have seen. Again, we're seeing the potential of inflation creeping in. So we really had too much inflation, if we're talking strictly about that, since like the 70s and 80s. So that was before my time. So, and I'm 34 years old, so that's before my time. So just imagine how many people are not looking at a playbook or the understanding of what could cause a market volatility because of inflation. Like, I know that people are some concerned or not concerned about the Fed taping, all this kind of stuff that could kind of come into like this perfect like explosion of putting us in a bear market. Not saying it's going to happen. I don't know. It just get to be very well aware about it. And then, of course, within the screenshot, we talk about that Buffett indicator. So this is a strongly overvalued market. As of September 2nd of 2021, was the Buffett indicator. So the Buffett indicator is just looking at the US market value here, and then the annualized GDP is this. And they just divide it out and it gives you a percentage, okay? And you can kind of see here, we are off the charts, basically, as they can say, as this is what is basically, not saying this is the best indicator of anything going forth, but it's something to take a note of. You really don't need the Buffett indicator to look at things. You just go look at the S&P 500, and since the bottom that we saw, which was, what was that, March low, and from the move higher as of the close of Friday, we've gone up 108% in about 548 days. That's insane. That's a very drastic move in that time frame. So you just got to be ready for everything and just get ready to kind of flow with the punches. And if you're a longer term investor, probably not your cup of tea of really worrying about it. It's going to be somewhat of a buying opportunity. If you're options trading a week, 2 weeks out, might not even be too much of a concern as well. But if you're in that sweet spot between 1 week to like 6 weeks to even 3 months, those trades can really get wishy-washy fairly fast. And of course, buying at the top of anything, which again, we don't know when the top is always risky as on that side note as well. Anyways, let's go look at some things. This is we have bonds and DX giving us warning signs. That could be. I do agree. EDTAT weird moves lately. Ken, let's look at EDT. EDT. That's a very interesting move. This is the genomic stock, if I remember right. Right. I don't know why my fibs keeps on deleting on this one. This is coming in right into that 618 previous move here. So that again, that previous resistance that we're hitting is that $72.09. That was a previous move that we saw kind of a break gap down lower here. So it's kind of potentially filling that fallen gap as of right there. So that's going to be something that could potentially drive it higher, or can kind of create like an artificial topping pattern in this if it doesn't have the momentum or really the buying volume to kind of break through and get past that $72.09 there. Because again, that was previously a breakdown level here, which you can see here. That was basically the beginning of the year. We saw that kind of fall apart there and just continue going lower. Kind of made a pretty large, like, you can somewhat call this kind of like a cup kind of building out. Maybe we can get like some kind of handle, kind of just trading at least above that $65 to $63 level, and maybe get some some bouncing around in that level here, but potentially seeing it not go too far below the $54 to $60 level, because that's going to be breaking the shorter dated momentum there. Bitcoin says, bless you, Ken. What would be your exit level for Mrna? I bought the 46 calls expiring in 3 weeks. Mrna, yep. So that's a nice move. So again, looking at the daily chart, that has definitely made a nice little recovery here. It has not broken past that 34 EMA, which we kind of been using it more as a conservative kind of a short-term momentum indicator. We normally use the 21, but that's going to be a little bit on the aggressive side of momentum, but I like to use the 34 EMA here. And then kind of coming into that level, potentially we do see a breakout above the 423.92. That definitely could make its run. So you said you bought options 3 weeks out, so you're probably looking at the September 24th-ish time frame. And you bought the 460. What did you say? Yeah, 460s. So that's kind of far out of the money here. Not seeing a lot of volatility or a lot of volume there. There's a little bit of open interest, but nothing too impressive there. The spreads, again, the market's not open, so the spreads can be fairly wide here. That's a little bit not my favorite cup of tea there as well. But this is definitely something that could potentially pop. You're playing a really risky game here on that very short-term options and buying calls that are kind of out of the money. I'm not sure when you bought them. If you bought them here at like 375, I'm pretty sure you're up a nice shiny penny or a substantial amount, honestly. But that is potentially coming into some resistance around 423-ish range. So be very mindful about that. And then to the short term, you have that support level around that 368 there. But again, 3-week time frame. There isn't like an earnings catalyst, but again, who knows if we go into lockdowns, another strain come out or whatever. Like this could definitely make this move without a doubt. Okay, what's up, my friend? Oh, you want to look at SPY? Yep, we can look at SPY. We'll look at it at a daily chart side. So basically, it's just continuously kind of not even grinding, it's just continuously to float to the moon here. If we do get a pullback, I'm looking for some support here around that 443 to 445. And the expected move for this week, which again, it's going to be a short week because Monday wasn't open for trading, which would be September 10th. They're looking for a move of nearly $5. So $5 would be within a rational movement of this week. My targets, again, it's not for this week. It's just going to be these targets will always be moving depending on where the 34 EMA lies on the daily chart. Because you can see multiple times that we've hit that 34 EMA over the past, what is this? Basically this whole year, and just kind of bounced off that 34 EMA. But it could bounce another 7th time. It could bounce another 10 times. I don't know. I have to just use what I have at my disposal, which is the chart and understanding the parameters of where I want to trade and where I want to put risk on and so forth. But that being said, that 34 EMA is going to be my kind of a potential buy the dip moment, depending on what's going on with the circumstances around that there. But could it potentially go higher? Yeah. I'm not buying a lot of stock at these levels, to be quite honest with you, just explaining on that Buffett indicator and just seeing the pretty outrageous price moves that we've seen here recently with this too much little bit of a headwind. And I also put out a on the YouTube community page, which it doesn't get too much traction, is the this indicator or a poll that I put out. I wrote, let's see here. Do you think that the market will be, the overall stock market will crash in the next 6 to 8 weeks? And 47 of you have replied to it, and 70% of that 47 votes have said, yes, the market has been too hot, which is basically the underlying thing that we've been talking about of just seeing this continuously rocket move higher there, without a doubt. Edward, do you think that PLTR will take a major dip if there's a little bit market correction in the near future? So I'm not too familiar. I own PLTR. Will it take a move lower with the overall market? Yes, it will. PLTR moves more or less with the momentum, like new growth, new age technology stocks. So that's going to be something to be well aware about. And we're actually coming into a potential price resistance with PLTR just recently to around that $27.75. You can kind of see I have this little white bar here that kind of signals on where the previous like box move, which we call it like the penalty box, we can call it the purgatory box, whatever. It just kind of been bouncing around and just kind of staying in this range here. But if we do see a break above 27.73, I think that could be a nice little move here to potentially make its way to 30, because that's going to be getting into some new territory over the last coming months. But I am a long-term investor in PLTR. Again, I have to thank Alpaca from the bottom of my heart when I was buying in around $8 and $9. So. They got the gold. Yeah, PLTR did buy like $55 million or $75 million worth of gold. They didn't buy gold stock. They literally bought gold bars. So I don't know if they just had too much cash sitting around and wanted to do for it, but yeah. LTNC, I don't know if I've heard of that one. Labor Smart. Yeah, this is not be my cup of tea here, my friend. Normally not into the penny stocks and really not getting into the many stocks that are really below the pink slips kind of stuff. But this is something that is clearly, I have no idea what the move behind this could be. Could it can go higher? Maybe. Let's take a look here on this chart. Yeah, it's maybe building some kind of base here around the 0.0005 area. But if you're looking at it like that standpoint, but I have no fundamental knowledge about this stock or what market it's in. Could it bottom here and run up here? Maybe. We're seeing some volume kind of coming in here and getting a little bit of move higher here, but nothing really much to say there, my friend. What is an actual realistic crash given the Fed had bought so many securities? That's the true trillion or 250 billion trillion dollar question there, Dave, is what actually could happen. The Fed, of course, we got the jobs numbers this previous Friday. There was like 256, the non-farm payroll numbers. We had 256,000 jobs, but the expectation was like 750. So that was kind of not really well in line with that. Who knows what a realistic crash could be? A realistic crash could be, it depends what you define as crash. Is a crash to you on a standpoint, meaning the overall market pulls back? A crash to me is correction is over 5%. A crash would be something, a pullback would be something like 5 to 7, maybe 8%. A crash would be something beyond 15 to 20% over the overall industries. That doesn't mean some stocks could do well in bearish markets, right? Like commodities do very well during these kind of pullbacks in a lot of these markets. And what we can look at there is just on how the commodities are looking due to the fact of these potential insights that are going forth. So you can look at USO, which is that got a lot of love. That's kind of been performing somewhat better and looks like it's trying to go higher maybe here, but it's a little bit chop there as well. So yeah. MB63, all the other world markets did okay this week. Yeah, I would agree. I'm not really looking at like a day-to-day basis. I'm more looking at like what potentially headwinds could happen the next couple months out. Fish is asking for Walmart. Yes, Walmart is looking very pretty here. We talked about this one. Who did I talk this with? Ways back. We're coming into that Fibonacci sequence here around $147 is going to be that previous support here. So 147 to like 146 is going to be pretty substantial support here. It's coming to squeeze. It's after earnings, so there's a lot of potential headwinds behind it. It's really just going to be relying on the consumer market and how the retail spend is going to be going forth. So looking for the consumer index kind of data numbers going through there. And really, again, this is going to be a larger driver behind that. But looking here on the technical basis here, that 78 percentile move here, that 147 potentially could be some short-term support, and we could see a nice little ricochet higher to break above that 150 plus level there. Bitcoin Success is asking for Roku, please, for sure. Roku, I think we talked about this one last time. Bitcoin was basically the being somewhat of a stay-at-home and pandemic stock here. We're kind of breaking and trying to find some support here around the $338 to $340 level here. So that's going to be something that we want to kind of be mindful about and looking at to potentially if we do see some support coming through there. But if we do not, that can continuously kind of going lower here. You do see the 34 EMA, which is the orange line, and then the pinkish purplish line, the 8 EMA, kind of slowly curving lower here. And the 34 is potentially going to be crossing through the 144 EMA, potentially creating more of a downward momentum move there. Christian D says, we have a new variant called MU that the vaccines have no effect on. How did the market respond to the Delta variant? And this is that's the same thing of like, what's the $1 billion, $1 trillion question? We don't know on how it's going to respond. Again, I can only speak to too much of the United States on my experience. Is just like each state takes these different protocols just differently. There's some lockdowns, some restrictions. There's no dining in, all this kind of stuff. Like it's most people, from my understanding and what I see out in the world, is they're not really taking too many precautions, and there's not going to be too much of a headwind to see if something does come out. It's really going to be a lot of stuff going on with like, hey, the fall variant. It's going to be something that potentially you need to look out for, and that could spike the market lower here. At the same time, looking at the understanding of so many other different things that could cause a market correction. But I'm not the an expert at all within anything biological or anything like a pandemic status. But just I really have to emphasize that anything can happen in the market, right? Like the crash, a pullback could just happen out of nowhere. It could just be a flash crash. It could be so many different things that can cause the market to pull back. I'm just kind of giving the like, hey, the market's been kind of hot lately. Can it pull back? Yes, without a doubt. I'm just highlighting on what the previous market moves that we've seen. And that 34 EMA here on the SP 500 is around some support coming in around 445 to 443. That's all I can say on that. Eric is asking, what are your thoughts on SAVA? SAVA. Looks like a pharmaceutical stock. Looks like something really bad happened here. I don't know why I have a level here. I think. Let's see here. What is this stock? The clinical stage biopharmaceutical. The company is focused on developing a drug, the treatment of neurodegenerative such as Alzheimer's. Wow. Good luck with that. That's going to be a very difficult one for the Alzheimer's. We can just do a very quick fib here from the swing high to swing low here. It's coming into some level of support here around $57, but it can easily come back down to that $36 to $40 range. That was a previous like band of support here before its previous run higher here. So look at that. Earl G, what's up, my friend? Thoughts on Jazz? And thank you in advance for sure, my friend. Jazz Pharmaceutical. Again, this looks like it came out on. I'm not sure what the company does. You must know much more than I do, but this is definitely a very severe pullback. So I have to kind of zoom out of where this level is kind of coming in through, and that level was previously on that market move higher, going out into the summer of last year. That really large run. So there has to have been some kind of catalyst that had this really market move, but then. After this earnings, which it seems like the earnings per share wasn't crazy, there must have been some other data that I just don't know about that made this kind of come back substantially like this. But looking here on the fibs here on the weekly side, we can kind of look at this. It's kind of broken past so the 50 percentile move is not a fib number, but that 137 to 138 is the potentially level of support there. The real fib number would be around 125-ish if it does come into support level there. It is very damaged here. Depending on what your risk tolerances is, I'm not usually the first one to kind of jump at stocks like this, but this is something that could maybe build a base here around that 140 level, maybe get a retest, and potentially if it does get some kind of momentum to break to 149 to 150 range. There's a lot of things that can happen here, but as of right now, it's not really recovering to the way I would like it. I need to kind of see it on the daily chart. Zooming back into the daily chart here, you see the pink line here, which had been kind of somewhat stagnant. It's starting to make its curve kind of building higher here. So that 137 range is the level that we want to see it hold for at least 2 weeks tight in that range to potentially see that market move higher. Again, there could be any kind of catalyst that brings it up or lower or higher. I'm very well aware that you know what you're doing though. Bear, you said messages restricted. All right, love you, Bear. The coolest dad ever. What's up, my friend? Hey, Ken, did you do AT&T? I have October 15 division 12. Yeah, AT&T. That thing has been slaughtered, my friend. Long time no see. How you doing, my friend? This thing has just been. I think it just had some really just bad acquisitions and all this kind of fun stuff. This thing is coming down some level of support here. You do see I have a level of support here on $27. So that kind of reverts back to the November timeframe of last year, which we saw it kind of break below 27, but just for a couple of days it had like a short-term double bottom here. But now we're seeing maybe a potential pivot here. So the October 28th, that's a pretty spicy meatball. That's something that could potentially move the cards. That seems really awkward. I don't know why. I would think AT&T would have a lot more options. They must not have rolled them into, oh, I'm sorry, look at the wrong month. Okay, there we go. October 15th, right? Okay, I was looking at the weeklies. My apologies. Now this makes more sense. A lot of volume, a lot of open interest. So yeah, this might be. I might take that bet with you. The coolest dad ever. That's actually a really good call. I'm gonna write that in the old the Ken handbook here for AT&T. So letter T, October 15th, 28 call. I might buy something a little bit further in the money, maybe like the 26 or maybe the 25s. That could potentially get a nice little market move. Just kind of cut down that theta decay because I'm not a big fan of that theta decay if I'm buying calls. But this looks like a spicy meatball. I kind of like it for a potential bounce there. SNP SNMP SNMP. No idea what this company does. The pattern, not my favorite kind of stock. It's a penny stock. Not much volume there, so that's a little bit of on the shady side. So I'm not really a fan of that as well. But yeah, this has like a pretty large market move here on volume. So it's going to be that kind of movement. That $1 to basically the 87 to 82 cents has been some level of support there. This is just something that you need to be very well aware about. This is going to be, I don't know what the company does, but this looks like a very springy kind of stock here. It kind of moves with, of course, with volume because again, it's not the most liquidity going and forth there. Brando Malari is that how about DE? They're getting up there. DE, which is John Deere. Yeah, I think this is honestly in the heels of the infrastructure play. That's kind of back in the Senate kind of stuff of like, is it going to be 5 trillion? Is it going to be 2 trillion? 3.8? I'm hearing so many different numbers on what potentially could happen right here, right? Is it going to pass? We're definitely going to get the bill kind of come through and what's going to be allocated here. But if we start getting a break above 400, this is actually a pretty good pattern here. So what I'm looking at here is the weekly chart here. This is a pretty massive move that, of course, the old Deere has made. But it made a pretty nice significant level of support here around $337. It never really broke past that. Again, that was a 34 EMA here on the weekly side. If we get a break past 400, some targets would be around 450 to 480. But again, this is on a weekly chart, so that's a little bit further out here on those price market moves there. And it looks like they just raised their dividend once again, so that's a nice little upgrade there as well. Christian, if we look at FTNT, is that Fort? What is that called? I know the stock. Yeah, this thing has just been insane in the membrane. Anything to do with computer security, cyber security, like Cloudflare, Okta. This is a couple that ring to the back of my head. Has absolutely been insane in the membrane. This really looks just like the S&P 500, and each time it bounces back to that 34 EMA is a great buying opportunity, honestly. Technically speaking, over what the moves have been. Looking at this on the flex grid side, this thing is just a little bit too hot and spicy for me to buy at these levels here. But a pullback to around that 300, at least to 295, or wherever the 34 EMA lies, that potentially could be a nice little swooping in to maybe buy it at those ranges here. But again, that has been a great market move if you've been in that stock. Bear is asking for BYND as a short. What's up, Bear? Hope all is well. BYND, Beyond Meat, they make great products. I'm more of an Impossible person, but this is, yeah, I have to agree with you on this one, Bear. Looking here at the weekly side, if we're breaking below that 119, getting to that category, if we fill that gap below 112, we can easily make our way back to 105 to 106 quite easily, I believe. If that continues going lower here again, as of that speaking here, again, we have earnings behind us. What other catalyst could be? It could be, again, the price to earnings multipliers, the EBITDA, whatever issues that the fundamental people can look at. Technically speaking, if it does not get a breakthrough at least above 120 to 122 to kind of poke its head above here, we saw a couple little blips here, but like these are called like dead cat bounces, or something that is just doesn't have any staying power and just kind of comes right back down. So it need a little bit of a oomph to kind of get up to those levels here, but yeah, I think bears onto something. We could potentially fill that gap and get back below 110 to 105. You're welcome, coolest dad ever. You're welcome. Jeff is asking again, can you please do Tesla? For sure. Love talking Tesla. Oh, if I can spell. So Tesla, I have to put this in the purgatory box. So we're going to add a drawing. We're going to add a rectangle here. This has been the purgatory box. So this is just highlighting this little area here. We are coming into some previous overhead resistance around $762.53. We've bounced off that level before. We can easily break through that, but if we close above that range, that could be a very significant move higher. We have not closed above that since basically the mid of February, right? That's a long period of time here, and not seeing any kind of potential indicator that we could see a breakout here. There's a lot of catalysts going through. This is we're getting into the last oomph of 2021. It seems like it seems strange, right? Just speaking about this is the time last year that everyone was worried about the elections and all this kind of stuff. Now everyone's worried about tapering, other variants, and inflation. And then how's the Fed going to be looking at inflation and what their risk-free cash investing into, how the Fed moves forward again if they start tapering, not just on buying it, but then talking about the expectations of 2023 of starting to potentially raise interest rates. So with Tesla there, very much of a high flyer that we saw last year around this time frame. So last year, this thing really did take off again, because again, it was added into the S&P 500 and so forth. But with Tesla, what is their catalyst now? As of right now, if I try to order a Model Y, which I would love and I won't get it until January. That's what they're saying, estimated delivery of January. That I don't know what that means. Estimate, does that mean potentially sooner? It could be potentially later. Who knows? But with the Tesla market move that we're seeing here, I think it's very likely to kind of easily test that $762. But I would love to break it higher to get back to 800 plus. I just don't know, right? I am a trader. I'm an investor of the company, but as of right now, I think the long-term perspective is great, but looking at the chart here, we're looking at 762 to break with some short-term support coming in around 700 and some stronger level support coming around 650 in the short term there. So kind of keeping an eye on that, on those potential market moves there. Because I think there is some potential catalyst building up, because again, Tesla's demand is going through the roof. It is very hot. You're welcome. Is the bottom of the SMA has been bleeding for 5 weeks now? Yeah, so Sam, they are just there hasn't been it's hard for me to say it's a bottom. This is something very difficult. It's just continuously trending lower here. So I'm a trend trader, so this is what I like to see. This would be a fantastic short if you got into this when it broke here around 688, but I'm not really a person that's a short stock. But that being said, we talked about that level potentially going back to 500, and again, we're only $62 off as of right now here, and this is looking like it's continuously kind of just grinding lower here. We're not seeing on the weekly chart. We want to see it tight for at least 5 to 6 weeks. This has not been tight. This is just a continuously staircase or slide lower here into the bear territory, even just continuously going lower. Alan, what's up, my friend? Howdy to you as well. So did we decide if the market's going to crash this week? Alan, I don't think we have, but 42 or 40 was it 42 people voted on the poll that I put up and said that we're gonna most likely crash in 6 to 8 weeks. People are expecting some kind of a market pullback. A crash, I think Alan's just being a little sarcastic. We don't know when it's gonna crash, right? We just don't. But Lemonade looking good, and even that other stock that you talked about, the I had it on my notes here. OWLT, that had a nice little move this week as well. Not substantial, but it did have a nice percentage move. You're very welcome, Edward. You're welcome as well, Jeff. QK, hey Ken, can we please look at Square? Yep, SQ. SQ is another stock that's been continuously kind of grinding higher here. It's in this also weird state. So again, let's go back to the weekly chart. Has made a substantial move here, and now it's kind of like been a little in that chop zone in this range here, basically from like 260 to around like 220 to 200 range. Very interesting one to kind of come through. Seeing this kind of been bouncing around here, looking for this to potentially easily trying to break the 289 level. But if the market wants to continuously to drive this one higher here, we're going to be looking for a market move of $300 plus. We have a very large momentum kind of coming in here, continuously kind of driving this one higher here as well. And it's a fairly innovative stock here as well. At the same note, we are seeing a squeeze setting up. We had huge volumes coming in on this on its day after earnings, so that's a nice little indicator there as well. So and seeing it kind of pop up there. So I think 289 to 300 within the next couple of weeks is something that could be easily be possible with Square, honestly. Wesley, what's up, my friend? Godspeed to you. Hey, any thoughts on coin? Matthew's asking. Yeah, coin is on my radar as well. Sadly, it never broke to like 215 to 220 that I was looking for. It's kind of now slowly kind of grazing its way back up here. The thing is, what I like to do with these particular stocks is, again, it actually makes money, which is insane. Like most IPOs that we've dealt with, like that I've dealt with, like Uber, Beyond Meat, all these things, like they're just reinvesting and just kind of just burning money, to be quite honest. This thing looks fantastic, honestly. Like it makes money, it's profitable, it knows what it's doing, and it's in a very niche market, which I don't think a lot of people understand it. Like I think it's in a market where people act like they understand it. They're like, oh, it's a Bitcoin, you know, where you can buy drugs and hookers with on the internet and drugs and stuff. But it's not that. That's like the Bitcoin of like 10 years ago, which that was like, not saying that was the main purpose, but it was like considered this illegal transactional currency. But now it's kind of coming into, hey, what's blockchain? Like more people that I know that are studying computer science are getting into blockchain technology. Like it's insane in the membrane on how many people are getting into the blockchain methodology of how it could better every kind of part of our life and so forth. So I think it's very early stage. I like it quite a bit here. I wanted to buy honestly around 215 to 220. It hasn't breached that. Potentially would maybe nibble at it around 260 to maybe 257. As of right now, it's maybe trying to make a nice little push here to maybe potentially test 292 to maybe $300 though, within the old coin there. Alan, trend trader, I thought you were a boomer trader. You son of a gun. I'm a boomer and a trend trader, Alan. Blink. Yeah. Oh, that's another one I wanted to talk about. Blink charging, right? Blink warrants. Blink. Here we go. So this Blink, and then the other one I posted in chat with on the Discord was CHDT. No, CHPT. Or no, what did I say? What did I say? CHPT. Charge point. No, DT. Okay, now I messed it up. What did I post in the Discord? My dyslexia is getting the best of me. CHPT, that's what I wrote. CHPT, charge point. Same kind of like movement here. We're kind of potentially building a bottom here around $20, which I'm looking for, $21.50. And then see blink. Same kind of scenario. Really, again, instead of betting on the market move within, let's say, Tesla, Ford, GM, Hummer, whoever else, Mercedes, BMW, the Volkswagen, Tesla, is going to be number one. These charging stations is going to have to happen, right? Like, people are going to need to charge their cars on road trips. The 10,000 mile battery is not existing yet, or whatever. This is something to look for. These charging stations are something to be like the new gas stations. The way I look at it is basically from history of like when we started to expand after World War II. We had that huge, of course, we won World War II. I don't know if you know this, spoiler, we won World War II. And after that, we had a huge expansion in the economy. And there was just so much infrastructure that needed to be built for everyone coming home, getting a car, getting a house. And people were going outside the city. We're kind of seeing that play out today. Like, we had the pandemic hit. We had people move out of the city. We need people who are now getting electric cars, which is kind of a new thing. We have a new infrastructure, the bills that could be expanding bridges, highways, and all this kind of fun stuff that potentially can create this catalyst for infrastructure people that are in this new age of stuff. And I really like it. I think it's a great bet, honestly, Alan. I think it's something that worthwhile to look at. What are your thoughts on the Bitcoin miners? Could be flying this week with Bitcoin near. Yeah, Bitcoin made definitely a large move here, and those Bitcoin miners go directly correlation with the price of Bitcoin. A crash could happen. These are not normal times. Think of how much leverage these people are using to push higher GME stuff. An example of market. Yeah, honestly, I agree with you. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Marty or someone else in the Discord who were saying that Robinhood was giving people's extra margin on in their Robinhood account. I always find that funny. Wesley, thoughts on BlackRock? Love it. Which are you talking about? Just the BlackRock overall? BlackRock company, fantastically run company. Like, let's be honest here. It's a little bit of a crazy price stock. Of course, this has made a very large move. So BlackRock, Blackstone are two of one of my favorite companies on the investing side of the house. Looking for this one to potentially come up to the $985 here. That's going to be potentially that next little Fibonacci number that we're going to be looking at here from that previous swing high to low here. That's going to be from that low here, of course, on the March side. We're looking at the weekly side because, again, this is not something I don't think many people swing or trade. BlackRock is more of an investment vehicle, I believe, Wesley. That's what I would look at it. Because they're just like the kingpin of assets, and depending on what BlackRock and Blackstone does is something very important and very keen too. I have it in my older notes. I needed to listen to the last earnings call to kind of get some kind of a insight, because if they're saying, hey, we're going to deleverage the home loan business or commercial real estate, like, again, these are the people that are in the market every single day, especially of just owning so many properties and different assets across so many different classes. They know they have a really true good pulse on the market. Is the bottom in for WFC? It's a bank. So I like the banks. I don't know what happened to Wells Fargo this week here, but the bottom is definitely $20 in their short term here. Initially speaking here, we have some support coming in around $42 to potentially that $40 range. That's going to be something that I could be looking at a move there. I'm kind of more agnostic of just owning XLF, just owning all the banks instead of just kind of picking one or two here, because again, I don't even know what the hell they do behind closed doors on how they they take money from me, they do something behind closed doors, and then they bada bing, turn it into $10 or something like that. I don't know how they do that. That being said, I was joking halfly about that. I'm just saying the banking industry is so complex, so rigorous with red tape, regulations, all kinds of stuff. It's just it's almost like the pharmaceutical industry. I just don't want to get into the nitty gritty of things. I think once XLF has been a long term position for me again. I've been buying very large stock holdings and then longer dated leaps on XLF, just on the anticipation of rates going higher. To be quite honestly with you. That being said, here with those banking stocks, I think that especially the Bank of America, I think it's one of the first stocks that's going to be reporting on earnings. That's kind of the kickoff for earnings seasons, and that's coming into next month. So we're about like 5 weeks away, which again is potentially going to be falling that zone of that potential pullback we could see in the market here. Curtis Holman is asking for my thoughts on SoFi and PLTR. So SoFi, I like SoFi. I really do. It's a long-term hold. It has not been a fun long-term hold, honestly. It's been bouncing off this flipping $14.40, $14.39 for some time here. So I'm just nibbling at it, just maybe adding 10 or 15 shares here and there on the last week or two. But this is something that has not been a fun experience. I think that this is definitely something that could change the future. And I really like the CEO, Anthony Noto. But yeah, this has been a very tough hold for me. And PLTR, I think it could easily break 27, but that's going to be a potential support level or a overhead resistance coming in there. Hey, Ken, what do you know anything about staking crypto coins on your Trust wallet? Ken, do you know anything about staking crypto coins here? I don't know what that means. You mean like adding the tokens or stuff into a cold storage wallet? Hey, Ken, hope all is well. My guy, ES, free paper cuts. Yeah, we'll look at ES. ES, of course, we can look at SP 500, SPX, whatever. The future's kind of really just flat right now. That being said here, who knows what's going to happen, free paper cuts. But if we do get a pullback, I'm going to be looking for wherever the 34 EMA is going to be that level of support. So as of right now, as of speaking at 9:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 6, 2021, that previous level support is going to be coming in around $4,443.11. Let's see here. Ford. Yeah, Ford is something that I've also been buying stock into. It's kind of coming into that previous level of support here around $12.75. Kind of been bouncing around that range here. I think that Ford makes a pretty competitive product within their SUV Mustang series. I know a lot of people are upset about that. I'm not much of a car guy, but that's fine, whatever. That really kind of falls in line with my thesis here on that 34 EMA as well on the weekly side. So Ford potentially kind of continue going higher here. But if we start seeing the 8 EMA and start seeing it break lower below $11.43, that could be a little bit in trouble town and getting into no fun zone and breaking back below potentially that $10 range. Dude, Jillian, I've been around. I've been on vacation mode, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, you're gonna see a lot more videos coming out soon. So CPNG, not too familiar with this stock here as well. This is something. Looks like I had an IPO or something, and just gonna continue to kind of shrink lower here. Potentially, kind of level a. I want to build this a little bit more tighter here. Again, I don't know what this company does. What is this? It's a Korean-based packaging company and providing e-commerce services. Okay, so e-commerce business, depending on what they do, this time of year, it's going to be their ramping up stage. So especially looking at seasonal trading ideas, this potentially could get that pop up higher here. But technically speaking, it's kind of just maybe meandering here, unless you have some kind of catalyst or knowledge of something that could potentially kick it higher here. that would need more of a fundamental standpoint, but technically speaking, it's not looking too pretty. It's below the 144 EMA. It's a newer IPO, which is not my favorite cup of tea here, and it has kind of been slowly kind of grinding lower there. AMC margin maintenance went from 100 to 85 to 65 now on Hood. Oh, wow, good. DM, oh man, you guys bringing up SoFi, Desktop Metal. This thing, I invested in this. I'm actually not underwater. I'm down about 15% overall in this position here. It has not been a fun holding here. It's kind of slowly making its way back here. If it cannot get back above this 34 EMA here, that's going to be a slight little failure. It potentially could make its way back to $7 or lower. That is somewhat of a short-term test here. If we can get a break above $9 plus, and maybe get some some fruition kind of going through, and maybe get that 8 to cross through the 34, so we potentially could get a nice little pop here within DM. Nationals as in for CRSR thoughts, saw a huge call buying last week. CRSR, that's Corsair, right? Yeah, Corsair. This thing has been an interesting one as well. It's been holding this really tight pattern here around $32, but again, its last earnings kind of broke past that and now kind of holding around 28. It didn't crash or kind of substantially go lower on that news and really see a deficit kind of kick in there. But it was a fairly hot stock last year. It got up all the way to $50. That's insane, right? Now we're seeing it potentially kind of turn around. Honestly, you make a really good analysis here. So we switch into the shorter term trading side. I need to get rid of this. Moving in here. So if we see the 8 cross through the 34 EMA here, at the same time we're seeing kind of like the other momentum indicators that I use here to potentially pop higher here. We're initially looking for a break above $30.52. That kind of falls into that 144 EMA here as well there. So we potentially could see that rebound to that level, potentially test that. That would be potentially considered a high probability outcome there. But breaking past that, that's going to be something that's going to take a little bit more staying power with CRSR, my friend. We got another Alan in town. He's asking for CCJ. Yes, those commodity stuff I think is and will be coming back. So CCJ is something that sadly I was selling, I was getting out of on the way down here, and being somewhat impatient at times and not knowing the business through and through, did not see these kind of large moves coming here on the fact of these raw material costs. This is a beautiful move here. We zoom out to the weekly chart, that's what I was looking at here. It was holding above that $15-$60 range. Potentially now it's kind of it made an all-time high last week, but it didn't close at its all-time high. So with this continuous market move here, if that $21.95 continuously trying to go higher here, would be potentially that $24 to $23.58 target that you can kind of see that I had initially. Once I saw it fail initially the first time, I kind of panicked and I trimmed it fairly fast on that market move down there, and kind of glad I did, because again I use that money for other things, but now kind of missed that move out because I didn't have the longer term perspective in mind. What do you think about Beyond Meat with the beef and chicken shortage? I think it's somewhat of a play, but the chart right now is not telling me that, honestly, due diligence. It's just kind of meandering here around 120. It's not seeing much volume picking up here. It's maybe, I don't know. I think a lot of people things are just kind of looking at other things. A nice tub and tile. What's up, my friend? Based on the growing cybersecurity threat, Citadel One with ticker as running the coattails for Fortnite. Yes. This is something to be, the cyber, I think there's a cyber ETF, right? There's a cyber security ETF. There's multiple, actually, looks like. There is the Global X. Yeah. So look at this one. This is the one that looks really interesting. This is the bug. So they have a holdings in, like you just talked about, FNT, Zscaler, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Okta, all the ones that you hear everyone talk about. If you know anything about these kind of market moves. Yeah, Zscaler, FNT have both had crazy moves here. So let's actually look at Bug. Yeah, look at that, making an all-time high on the weekly chart as well. So again, this is beautiful looking stock here as well, making these very, very impressive moves here. So yeah, making an all-time high. It is a little bit more, it's not out of my trading norm of trading these kind of stocks. I like to buy stuff around Fibonacci sequences and moving averages, because this would have been a nice buy here. Of course, again, speaking Monday back quarterbacking here, it would be around $29 to $30, because again, that 34 EMA has been some level of support there and kind of coming through here. But that is a very nice market move within those cybersecurity stuff. Alan's asking, hey, can you do Hood, Tea, Pave, and Starbucks? Thank you. Best dad ever. Thanks for the $5. Coolest mom wants to know about her AITX penny stock. Thanks again. AITX. Artificial intelligence. So technically speaking, I'm gonna have to go to a smaller time frame. This is something that I normally don't trade. Cool as that ever, to be quite honest with you. It just kind of been meandering. You do see these little pops here within volume and seeing a little bit of a bump up. The sad thing is this little market move here and here kind of potentially really kind of ruined kind of some things of just potentially that distorting the stock. And again, I don't know why the 34, what is this? This is, okay, so this was a insane, this is not making sense to me. This was like, something happened here. I don't understand. This was like diluted heavily or something, or it just got to the point where it just went too crazy. So let me look at this at a smaller time frame, like a 4-hour chart here. It kind of tells a little bit of a better pattern here. It's kind of been slowly making its way lower here. You see that 144 EMA here on the 4-hour chart's been kind of level of a overhead resistance here. And as of right now, that would be around the 0.0515 range would be that next level of resistance if we do see that pop up higher there. But again, this is on a 4-hour chart there. So hopefully that was somewhat significant help there on that shorter term time frame. And then we'll jump back into Vincent is asking for Hood. So again, that is the Robin Hood. Everyone knows. I don't have to kind of explain that. Since it's a newer IPO, it's kind of like in this penalty box for me. It's kind of slowly kind of maybe building some support here around $42 to $43 here. But if it really breaks below that, it didn't really fill this previous gap here. That could easily maybe come back down to $38 to $40. But at the same time, if it kind of holds this pattern here around 45, we can easily potentially see that market run up to that $50 plus there again. We did AT&T, Vincent, which again, we talked about this one. Potentially some kind of short-term bottom here on 27. I think Coolest Dad Ever did bring that to my attention here. If we do see a break above 27.86 or to $28 plus, that potentially could kind of create that next catalyst move higher there as well within the old AT&T. And then Pave, yeah, this is again that part of that infrastructure stuff. Continuously nice little market move, kind of slowing down here, not with that crazy rocket ship moves that we saw last year. But again, looking for that 34 EMA potentially kind of coming in for that level of support. And then S-Bucks, aka Starbucks, same kind of pattern here, coming into that 34 EMA for level support here. Did see kind of fall back on earnings. Again, this is somewhat of a reopening play and just an expanding and travel and so forth. Looking for this potentially to kind of hold here. It's not the best hold and tight pattern here, but if we start seeing it break above 120 again to 118, that potentially could be the next catalyst to kind of rocket ship it higher here. But again, if it does pull back, we're going to be looking for some levels around 212 to 110. Awesome. Thank you, coolest dad ever and coolest mom ever. Appreciate the $5. Eddie's asking for Riot, and I'm already going to pop tomorrow. I do believe that. The hardest part is going to be trying to get in, before all the other larger hedge funds are going to get in, because again, that's what everyone's thinking with with Bitcoin being up a pretty large, finally getting past that 50,000 plus range there. With Ryan, it's kind of been holding this base here. Potentially, if it does pop, we're going to be basically looking for a break above 40 in the Fibonacci tree here, and then that $40 range is going to be looking for 49. I want to zoom out to the weekly chart. That's where I'm going to be kind of making my pivot on. If we want to do the Fibonacci level to the shorter term sequences from the previous swing high to low, we're going to be looking for $43.15. Going to be the next move higher there for Riot if we do get that continuous momentum going through there. And then Marathon Digital, same kind of potential market move here on the longer term weekly side. We're going to look for a break above 45.71. But if we want to look at the other price target from the previous level here, we're going to be looking for at least $49 to $50 plus to kind of see there on that market move there. Can we look at SNDL? Look, that's the marijuanas, right? SNDL, yeah, it's kind of been quiet, been dormant. It's kind of, that was a meme stock that was pretty blown up on Reddit. A lot of these stocks went insane, the membrane right here, and seeing this large market moves. Yeah, right. Who knows? That could happen again. I don't know if it's going to happen just like this again. I think I don't know, have the best understanding of the company overall. But looking at the trend here, it's kind of been in or around. It's not crashing, so that's a good point. Just kind of meandering, kind of just leveling off here. Maybe again, you're just continuously seeing lower volume week in, week out. So that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just kind of falling off a lot of people's watch lists. It's not in the news. It's not on everyone's Twitter feed, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of just losing sight of that. But that being said, it's still within their DNA to potentially have these large pops. So if there is any time that we could see a buying back into these marijuana stocks and so forth, this thing could easily pop up if it's positioned just properly right. Roland One's asking for Chewy. Yeah, Chewy has also been an interesting one. Yeah, I did see the earnings come out there. It was a pretty large gap down. So I want to wait at least, they used to say 2 or 3 days, but you can maybe be a little bit more conservative, maybe wait a week here. I would like to see this kind of bottom out here, potentially to kind of get any kind of bad news out of the way and kind of get people out of that norm there. But if this continues going lower, we're going to be looking for some levels around $75 to $73 for Chewy, for potentially the first level of some frontline support coming through there. What do you think about AJX? Beautiful looking. I don't have no idea what this company does. AJX is an external real estate company focused on acquiring. Yeah, it's holding that 34 EMA pretty well here. So if it does come down in the short term around $13.50, that potentially could be a short-term bottom here, and you can buy into it. But if it starts getting aggressively breaking through that, and you have the 8 EMA do a very sharp 45-degree angle cut through this level here, that could be very costly. That can easily make it that way back down to the 144 EMA there. You're welcome, USA. ADRX, Wesley. ADRX. Did I spell that right? AD. It's not loading for anything for me, Wesley. ADRX. Maybe it's just taking its sweet time here. I don't know why it's thinking. It's spinning. Does Tastywork have anything? ADRX. Tastyworks as well is spinning for me too. You can see here it's just waiting for data. Is this like something that someone's trying to go to the archives and pull it out of the archives? It's not loading for me. Am I putting in the right ticker there, Wesley? Yeah, no bueno. A couple stocks that I wanted to talk about was Amazon. We talked about Amazon getting into this one. This thing was bottomed out really fast here. We talked about that 3,200 to 3,150 range. We were selling potentially some premium on. Again, by selling puts. If you're not familiar with that, look up anything on Google on selling puts on covered puts, covered calls, that kind of scenario, because they're it's ARDX. Ooh, that's a spicy meatball there, Wesley. That's this is a pharmaceutical company, Wesley. Yeah, I can always tell it's a pharmaceutical company whenever something like this happens. It's just like a failed trial or something. And now it's just kind of being repositioned and kind of being re-rated in the market here, in the marketplace, aka the stock market, of what are people willing to pay for this. It looks like it's clearly something really bad happened. They released before the earnings. Potentially that's always a pretty good move on their part to do so, and is kind of meandering here. So unless you have some kind of catalyst there, Wesley, you're going to have to be doing you must have some underlying knowledge of what potentially could be the next market move higher here, or you're like, hey, this is BS, this data is just crap, and I think they're going to be coming back fairly strong. Why title the about going to crash? Because I've got so many people asking when the crash is going to happen, and if you go to the beginning of the video, the live stream, I basically talk about it as like I have no flipping idea when the market's going to crash and so forth. There's a lot of different indicators. So the one that I put within the title, I talked about the Warren Buffett strongly overvalued indicator, which is basically a very simple formula where the Buffett indicator is the U.S. market value, trillions, and then the average GDP growth, which again is the value side of the market here. And we're seeing at a very overpriced ratio here on the long-term trend line there. So that's what people are kind of looking at that sense there. So that's just one way to look at it. You can look at just the SP 500 historical averages. You can look at so many different things. Who knows what's going to happen in the market, right? You're very welcome, Wesley, and thank you for being an awesome person. Tourist token, please. I don't trade. Is that a crypto? G. AMD. I like this chart as well. This has been a nice market move higher. I know, Bear, if you're still listening, I know you're trying to short this one, and it's been kind of a little bit hesitant. But that is what it is. That being said, here we do get a break above $111. I think this thing could easily run, but we do have some short-term support coming in around 105 to 103. Market won't crash because all industries won't sell now. They have enough hedged already. So market crash is a little bit larger than a market pullback. I honestly believe, let's be honest, if you want to talk straight market and trends and seasonality of a market pullback would be very healthy. A crash is something like people freak out about these various large indicators, like the one I just showed you, the Buffett Indicator. Could that be something that is wrong? Of course, it's clearly wrong, because they said they've been saying the market's been overvalued over the last 18 months. But there's a lot of different other indicators that we can look at, of like inflation rising up, the starting of 2023, potentially raising rates. These are all potentially drivers that could change the way equities and the assets within the stock market are priced, because it's all kind of coming to that free cash flow narrative of what is my beta to the market, and my beta of just getting money out of the bank if I just leave it sitting there doing nothing on cash. So there's different formulas you can calculate that depending on what your time horizon is and what you're willing to risk and look for. So do people hedge all their bets? No, they don't. I really don't believe that. Institutional people, they have down years as well. So there hasn't been many institutional investors that have caught the top and caught the bottom. So there's been a couple people that have been very lucky and fortunate that have been able to kind of move around that. Coolest that ever. Could you have a lot of money with S&P 500 puts? Too bad we don't know how or when. I feel it's going to happen soon, but who knows? Exactly. Coolest that ever. You're completely right. 5 to 10% is a correction. Can happen. If it happens, definitely not a crash. 20-40%. Okay. Yeah. No worries, G. Yeah, this is actually Thinkorswim I'm using here. Mrna. Yeah, we talked about this one earlier, so we're looking for this one again with the continuous move of Bitcoin and so forth, potentially coming in tomorrow to break above $49 plus. If Bitcoin continuously its momentum move here, so $49 plus could be an easy target to potentially see the market move in that range here, potentially be its first target kind of coming in there. Another stock that I wanted to talk about was like a fixed income stock, which is like a realty income corp, is called O, just the ticker symbol O. And they basically own gas stations, all kind of stuff, and they rent out, and they just pay a pretty nice dividend on a monthly basis, of course, because again, it's like a fixed income kind of thing there. This stock is also looking fairly interesting, which is again kind of on the flip side, and it hasn't really recovered from the pandemic as well. So this is something that made a crash from $84 to $38 and just kind of continuously kind of going forth there. But now we're seeing it kind of break and slowly kind of break out of this trend here and make its way kind of slowly higher here, potentially looking for that $75 plus here. At the same time, waiting for that price target to be hit, you pay a nice dividend. So it's something to kind of add a little bit of a diversification to your portfolio there. Surprised no one has asked about it. We can look at Apple as well. So Apple has also been really kind of making this large move here. We had this double bottom here that we identified, and potentially we're holding that 144 EMA, which worked out really great. And now it's kind of getting into this, like, I don't know if it's extended, but something that we need to be somewhat to look out for, and potentially seeing it break here. I have some targets around 160 to 161 to be market move here. There are some. Apple doesn't really move on a large press releases, honestly. Again, like they don't have like, oh, we have a new iPad or something like that, or we have a new iPhone. Usually doesn't have a very large move on those days anymore. That was more like the earlier 2000s, mid 2010s, 15s, and so forth. But ever since then, they don't really get that large market move when they have like a September, October, kind of like a press conference and so forth, and new like product releases. More or less, their larger catalyst is really derived behind their earnings and the whatever they're potentially be looking at. Christian, let's see, how is it now a good time to get a call on Costco? So Costco, I am a huge investor in Costco. If you're not too familiar with this, I was slamming my hands and fist on buying this 320 to 300 level. I was buying this hand over fist here, and this is probably my greatest return ever in a stock, honestly, in my longer term account, besides Tesla. This thing has just been continuously grinding higher here. We have some short term targets coming around $466 here. That's going to be a potential overhead pressure coming through. But that previous Fibonacci number, it kind of just ran through that as well. So I want to zoom out to the weekly chart. Again, this is what we're looking at here on these price moves. I want to zoom this even to this little shorter time frame. This thing has just been a monster, of a stock, right? And just can continuously just giving back money. Can I have a pullback at any time? Sure, why not? If it does pull back in the short term, we're going to be basically looking for like $20 lower, to be quite honest with you. Can we look at MMAT? Alan's asking, of course. MMAT. Yeah. So on the daily chart, it's gonna probably give me a little better. Yeah, this looks interesting. This thing has that particular DNA of very short term or very large, like parabolic moves here, and kind of settles back down. Huge parabolic move, settles back down. Potentially another large parabolic move here. So we can kind of look here on a very basic fib here. If we start breaking and staying above $5.46 here, Alan, Costco is definitely a happy place. Looking for MMAT. This is that one that had that weird split. I remember this one now. That 400 or $5.46 is going to be a level we can maybe kind of close above here. We can maybe get that Fibonacci squeeze, the squeeze within the stock of momentum to maybe get its way back up to $8 and $8.57. I'm not saying it will happen, but it can. It does have its in the stock's DNA of having these very in tune like kind of market moves here. So this is something to be looking at. If we're seeing a shit ton of options buying and volume kind of coming through here, that's going to be something to look at. So that's something interesting there. In October, there was a lot of volume on Friday there. There's probably not much in January. Holy crap. There's a lot of $10 calls here. That might be shorting that because, again, the implied volatility on these options are pretty much through the roof here because, again, it has had these very large parabolic moves there. So it's kind of been priced pretty significantly and severe because of that. Your options are doing nice with MNT. I'm sure they are because, again, if you just bought 2 or 3 days ago, they're up a nice chunk of change here. Even if you bought a week ago or even a day ago, that's been a nice little market move there. But yeah, definitely something to be well aware about. But again, initially the Fibonacci sequence we're looking for on $8 plus 850-ish. But yeah, anything can happen with this one. I think you know what you're doing. That says, hey, can you please review Roku with increasing cases breathing life into the stock? Yeah, so we did Roku earlier. Looking at this one, we're looking for this potentially could be somewhat of a short-term bottom here around 338. We did say if it starts breaking and closing below the 318 to 320, that could be something to be a little bit worrisome about. And again, that's going to be breaking out of this like previous like double bottom support level that we're going to see here. That's something to be I'm ready to kind of see a little market move down here. But we start seeing the 34 EMA as well, cross over the 144 EMA. That could be that negative little downward move there on the momentum side. But as of this one, speaking more or less on the weekly side, it's kind of in line with previous support levels. I like to maybe see this trade at least above that 338 to 340 range for the next 2 or 3 weeks to kind of build like a tight pattern here. Opinion on Square. I love Square. Nice continuously market move here. I think it could easily run to 289 to 300, but that's going to be potentially a larger catalyst on the market overall and the fintech stuff there. You got him around 3. Nice, Alan. Very nice. RMO. Yeah, this is the Romo battery company, right? Or power. This was like a SPAC. Like, sadly, a lot of these SPACs have just been slaughtered here. This thing is just continuously grinding lower and lower and lower. This is something not too much of a fan of. If it does have a pop here, we're going to be looking for potentially trying to test that 34 EMA there and seeing it from there. The other one that gives us NNDM is something that we talked about quite a bit here. This is something that's maybe trying to make it a comeback here as well. They're holding some kind of level here around $6 here, so it's going to be something to be very interesting about to potentially see if this can make its pop higher to at least $7.20 to $8 plus there with NNDM. It's an interesting company, says MMT Alan saying. What do they say here on the analysis tab? It's a developer and function materials and the company is engaged in designing, develop, and manufacturing functioning materials. Its technology performing enables brands to deliver products to their customers in the customer electronics 5G network. Health, fitness is a platform technology includes higher. Okay, that is very interesting for sure, Alan. That seems like a very futuristic company if they can deliver on all that stuff for sure. Yeah, because it does have a nice little support level around 283. Honestly, this is on the weekly side though. Yeah, it's not my favorite cup of tea because again, it's like these insane. I'm very cut and dry and boring when it comes to stocks. This is just something that's not. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Predicting a decent price to buy puts on D King. That's booking, right? Booking. Oh wow, what a move. Eek. I had. Oh, I need to look up these options that I had. 1 second. I had. Not. I almost did. I just did DraftKings. Let's see here. I don't even know how long I bought those. Must have been over year to date. Let's do. These are not booking holdings is not great for options trading. It's pretty severe. So I bought. Oh, wait a minute. What did I buy? Oh, that's what it expired. When did I buy that? Oh, I bought stock. I bought it at $2,000. Oh, so I bought it down here. Oh, so I traded it just recently. I bought 2 shares of stock here at $2,000 because it must have had a target at. Yeah, I bought it at 2,087.33, 2 shares, and then I sold it literally like 3 days later around 2,200. Yeah, that must have just been a trade. I was just looking for a bounce back to that 34 EMA here. But that being said, this thing could easily maybe break to 2,355 at that price target, but it has pretty significant support about 2,090 there. It definitely sounds like an R&D company, Alan. Yeah, we're still here. What's up, bro, dude? Just chilling. Let me slide this over real fast. I wanted to look at something. What was one? Do a little bit more. Come on. All right, let's see here. Bank of America, we talked about this one. I like XLF. Building a nice little base here around $40 in the short term. A little bit more support coming around 38.50-ish, but I think this thing could be a nice little catalyst once we start hearing more things about interest rates and so forth. Beyond Meat, we talked about that one. Not really my favorite cup of tea. It's more like for a short. I know Bear's on top of that one. HD, another one that we like. I like is seeing this kind of like a market move kind of bounce here. Again, looking on the daily side here, looking to break around 334 to 340 in the short term. It's building a nice little potential market move higher again on that one. Do Knock, which is Northern Grumman, same as well. I like this pattern right here, potentially making like some people, let's look at this like on the weekly side. You can kind of call this somewhat of a cup with not the best handle here. It's kind of been moving higher here. Move there, but again, that support here around $358 has been pretty significant here, and at least seeing a market move higher to at least 380 plus there. Thinking of Kathy Woods, thinking she has it. I'm pretty she really does have it. Let's look. ARK Invest. Invest. I wonder what that falls under for her though. Is it and that is not one of the it's not her main fund. It's not a fintech space. Is it Israeli? Next gen internet? I wonder if it's a next gen internet. Where does it say explore the ETF? And fund holdings PDF. And then we're gonna hit F3 and then we're gonna MM8T. Is it MM? I don't see it on here. This is the next generation ARKW fund. They still own a lot of Grayscale. I didn't know that. A lot of Coinbase, a lot of Grayscale. Still has that large teledoc. That's the one I wanted to talk about. Yes, Unity. I like that one. Unity is looking really nice here. This is something we're seeing it kind of pop up here. Looking here more on the daily side here, this would have been a nice buying opportunity here around that 103 to 100 range. Nice little market move higher here. Looking for this to potentially try to fill the gap here. If we do see any kind of momentum kind of kick in, we're going to be looking for that $150 plus range there. Thoughts on Kathy Wood? Oh, what are my thoughts on Kathy Wood, Alan? I think she's a very intelligent person, honestly. She's somewhat of an outlier, but I don't always agree with some of her statements that she says. Which is nothing wrong of being too optimistic, but it honestly kind of speaks volume where your fund hasn't really made her. Again, it's made an all-time high last year or earlier this year, but it hasn't really recovered from that. I know they always talk about long-term 3 to 5 years playing out, but they do a lot of trading in a lot of things. So, and again, she has like people honestly give her a lot of crap for that Chinese stuff where she's saying she's not going to invest in it, and then like 2 days later she's buying JD.com and things like that. But if you're a trader or investor, you have every right to change your mind day to day, hour to hour, because you have new information coming in. So, on that. Mike M's asking for Marvis has been trading all day. Huge upside tomorrow. MVIS. This sounds very familiar. This sounds very familiar, this one. I like this one, actually. It has some short-term support coming around $13.36. If it can stay above that, I think that could easily have a market move. I don't know what the catalyst you're talking about there, Mike M, but that is it's looking like it could potentially could make a nice little market move. So 1384 to like 1350 would be that short-term level support here, but stronger support coming in below 10. That's nothing I really don't want to be going into there. Chris has a good range to get into shop. What's the time horizon though? So I can give you both. Short term on the daily side would be basically around that 1480. And the longer term side, we're looking for around 1350 to 1337. And then if you want to go super long term, you're going to be looking for that $1,300 below. Even back down to 900, which I don't know if it's going to hit that. It needs a very large market crash there. Besides asking all our ETFs were peaked in 20. Yeah, I honestly agree with you there, Sai. That is something that is very well, like, sadly, it's the what people always talk about, that 15 minutes of fame, and sadly, she had her huge Tesla move and everything else that kind of gave her the spotlight for a short period of time, and sadly, that kind of fades with everyone's things. That doesn't make she's a bad investor or career. It's just like things just kind of slow down. Just yeah. Anyways, if you guys got any more comments, questions, please put it in the chat now. I'm going to be signing off here shortly. We can have some. If you got any more questions that come up throughout the week or whatever, please go on and head over to the Discord. Always on there, chatting with folks, talking about stocks, all kinds of things. But I want to thank everyone coming out. I want to thank the coolest dad ever for the $5 donation. Really appreciate that, my friend. And yeah, if you guys want to do a quick poll for me, I would appreciate it. All 25 people here. What kind of content do you want to see more of? Do you want to see more content of just basic stock analysis? Do you want to see more like Wall Street bets kind of trades? You want to see more options, large options volume kind of stuff, and looking at that kind of things? I really just would appreciate some kind of feedback on that. FL's asking for VISL, please. This is something, I don't know why this is on my radar here. I don't know. I have it on like a weekly chart. Like, what did I do here? Was I trading this? I must have been in this stock like years ago. Like, I don't know. It's really weird why I have these markers on here. Very interesting. Let's just remove that, and then we can just do a basic fib here for the daily chart here. So it's coming into some support here around 211 here. There's something that I want to see here to kind of potentially support levels here around 211 here. The 34 EMA has crossed through that again, but if we do see the 8 EMA, which is a little bit shorter term perspective, kind of breaking past the 34 EMA, we potentially could get a pop around $2.42 there. Yeah, all the stocks, cyber stocks are up for sure. No, thank you, coolest dad ever. I like what you're doing now. Thank you. Large options volume, stuff that gets you excited. Thank you, Alan. One day it would be great to see you trade live and scalp. Well, first of all, MB63, I don't scalp and I don't do many day trades. 100% there. Did anyone ask about PLTR? Yeah, PLTR is, again, we'll look at it more of a finite level. We have like this this little white box around here. That previous level that we're potentially looking for is around that 27.75 range. to potentially be a short-term overhead resistance there. That's what we're just talking about, like that we had a resistance once, twice, but the more time something kind of knocks on the door at these levels here, as more likely to probably kind of break through it, right? So we wanted to continuously kind of make knocking at these higher highs and maybe seeing it kind of break out these levels here. So that's something that I would like to see more of with PLTR. But once we hit that level, we potentially could get a short-term pullback to the 8 EMA and maybe something more substantially depending on how the overall market's doing there. All right, so best data, coolest data. Everyone wants to see large options. Yep. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, options and Wall Street bets. Options, thanks again for your help. You're welcome, my friend. Large options for sure. You seem very integrated when it comes to the options. Thank you, my friend. FL says thanks as well. On that note, everyone, you guys have a fantastic evening or rest of the morning, depending where you're coming in from. I greatly appreciate everyone coming out as well. We will be working on some more videos coming through here as well to kind of create content throughout the week, keep you entertained, and look at some potentially interesting options, trades, and more or less companies that kind of tickle my fancy. So before Alan's asked me what tickles my fancy, what I'm excited about, I'm looking in. Alan, I wanted to update you on Lemonade. I have it on my notes here. LMND is something that I'm looking into potentially selling some premium on here. It's pretty rich in premium. So what I'm looking at potentially going to October and selling some like $65 to maybe $70 premium for Lemonade to kind of start off position there. And then the other one I was looking at was Mile. So this is going to be a longer term investment. So Metro Mile, Alan, is something that is quite intriguing to me because it's something that is pay as a service. And honestly, it got picked up on this volume for me on some of my scans. And then I just did some more due diligence, read about the company, went to the website. I haven't listened to the earnings call yet. It actually makes money, so that's always a great thing too. But this is something that I really like to see maybe build into a longer term position. So that's what I'm looking at there. Thank you, Handel. Bless you. Night all, Alan. You're welcome. Thank you. Jay Families, what do you think about VIAC? Did I just do that one? Maybe I'm confused. VIAC. Oh, Viacom. Yeah, this thing had that crazy. What was that trader in Asia? Had that huge position building on there, and he had like it was like 10 or 15x levered or something like that, and this kind of fell apart here. I don't know any catalyst that potentially can move this right now, but I think this is something that we could maybe see a test to maybe break above $43.26. But that being said, I don't know what the catalyst is for this one. I don't have the best understanding of it. I appreciate it, guys. Ladies, gentlemen, again, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. If again, just join the Discord, ask your questions. We'll have some fun there. And again, pay attention for the latest videos coming out, and please consider subscribing. All right, guys. Godspeed. Peace.